discuss Formula One kicking off their season with the Bahrain Grand Prix. Who's going to win? And MotoGP, they return back as well. Qatar Grand Prix, who's going to take that race? And what's going to happen in Bristol? NASCAR Cup Series on the dirt for the first time. All that right here, Grid Live pre-race.
Welcome to Grid Live Pre-Race. A special hello to everyone on the Ultimate Sports Radio Network. We invite you to comment in the chat room with questions and comments, especially after an exciting Formula One race. Joe Samaniego here, along with Kobe Lambert from the Podium Finish, Matt White from World Motorsport League, and a special welcome back, Jessica from Paddock Inside. Welcome back. That means we have MotoGP and Formula One.
Hi guys, that's right, because Formula One is back. And the discussion is about Red Bull and can they beat Mercedes. Practice 1 and 2, and 3, Max Verstappen was the faster. Mercedes engineers were second and the third behind in the first 2 practice seasons. But one of those Mercedes engineers was Lando Norris with McLaren. Third in first practice, second and second practice. Kobe, you made a prediction that we will see McLaren up front, even contend for a win. Did you anticipate Lando to be this fast?
No, Jessica, I did not. And Jessica, glad to see you back here making your 2021 show debut here with Grid Network. Glad to have you back for a second consecutive year. But I really did not expect Lando Norris to be that fast in practice. But I did expect McLaren to continue the trend of continuing their upward trend, going towards the front of the grid. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with McLaren this year. Understand, looking at the qualifying results that literally just finished up. McLaren didn't really have anything for Red Bull and Mercedes, but it'll be interesting to see what happens as they develop throughout the 2021 season with Lando Norris and his new teammate Daniel Ricciardo.
That's right. For a long time, Daniel Ricciardo has been behind his teammate in the first 2 practice seasons. Third practice, McLaren wasn't as fast as they were in the first 2 seasons. And the only no Mercedes or Red Bull got top 3 in any practice was Pierre Gasly. Gasly third and the third practice season, after practice and then qualifying. Where were you surprised with the changes?
When it came to qualifying, one of the big changes I was surprised with, Lando Norris, I thought he was going to be further up front. That doesn't seem to be the case. Ricciardo was ahead of him. That was the opposite during the practice sessions. That was a big surprise for me, as well as the other surprise being Yuki Tsunoda. We saw him up towards the front for Q1, but then didn't get out Q2. But seeing Pierre Gasly, those Hondas, they are looking pretty fast.
Surprise for me, actually, is Ferrari. He didn't, a lot of talk, as we've mentioned, has been about McLaren and this first free testing and stuff through before the session started, and they flattered to deceive a little bit. But Leclerc fourth on the grid is a bit of a surprise because there wasn't that much talk about Ferrari being that high up the grid. So, surprise for me is Leclerc. Let's have a look at the grid. Starting on the left-hand side of the screen, that's the bottom half. Let's take you through the top 10. Verstappen has taken pole position ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Valtteri Bottas in the second, Mercedes in third, ahead of man I just mentioned, Charles Leclerc, and Pierre Gasly is in fifth. You're going to have to say that a winner will come from the top 5. No one has won from 6th place or further back at Bahrain. The bottom half of the top 10 is the 2 McLarens, Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris, ahead of the second Ferrari of Carlos Sainz Jr. Fernando Alonso in his return with Alpine is 9th, and the lead Aston Martin Lance Stroll is in 10th. Jessica, we've seen 7 pole winners win this race. Do you think a driver on the pole is the clear favourite to win tomorrow?
Yes, it's important to gain position from qualifying to begin to gain an advantage over the rest of the riders. If your pace does not have any variation, begin on pole will be a clear advantage for Sunday. So we have a Max Verstappen is the first, the faster in this track. So we will see a good start tomorrow in Bahrain.
This is the 16th Bahrain Grand Prix. 7 different winners at this racetrack. 4 of those different winners no longer in the field. Michael Schumacher, Felipe Massa, Jenson Button, and Nico Rosberg. Let's hear who you think can win tomorrow. If you're watching along live in the chat room, we'll do our pick a winner for the race at the end of the show. One question for the whole panel. Ferrari, pace looking better, as I mentioned, but it has been Sainz that's led over the weekend so far. Could we see a battle between the teammates tomorrow, Leclerc and Sainz?
I do see that battle shaping up between the Ferrari teammates. It's going to be really interesting because we've seen Sainz fastest throughout the weekend, but then in qualifying, there's Leclerc up there, Sainz a little further back. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens between the two Ferraris, and it's going to be a repeat of last year. I think there's that potential.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting watching those Ferrari teammates going at it. And like Matt said, really surprised to see Ferrari running the way they are right now. I thought it was gonna take a little while for them to get this far up the grid, but it looks like Ferrari fixed whatever issues they had with the last car, which was atrocious. And maybe we can say Ferrari is back. I'm really looking forward to watching the teammate battle between Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz.
And yes, we have Carlos Sainz, who has finished ahead of Leclerc in the free practice. Sainz doesn't want to miss slightest opportunity to be the protagonist with Ferrari, and Leclerc will not be willing to give up. So I really will be a beautiful fight between the Ferrari with Sainz and Charles Leclerc.
The midfield battle again is looking particularly close. With AlphaTauri, Alpine, Aston Martin and Ferrari, although Sebastian Vettel was the surprise exit from Q1 after he had his best time scuppered by yellow flags for Carlos Sainz and for Nikita Mazepin. Which driver out of those 4 teams, guys, do you think will be the top finisher? That's AlphaTauri, Alpine, Aston or Ferrari?
Based on the qualifying session, it looks like Charles Leclerc and Ferrari is going to be ahead of the rest, but it's definitely gonna be interesting to watch and see how all of this shakes up. And also want to give a shout out to Yuki Tsunoda, who was really impressive early on in qualifying, and it looks like this rookie has the wow factor, and I'm sure he's gonna develop into quite the Formula One driver. And you mentioned Sebastian Vettel starting deep down in the grid, P18, and watching those Ferraris run as well they did after all the struggles they had last season. I'm sure it definitely has to hurt being Sebastian Vettel right now, especially see how well Lance Stroll qualified and seeing your former team go out and put both cars in Q3 and do extremely well while it seems like, the struggles are continuing for Sebastian Vettel.
And we have to pay attention with the AlphaTauri drivers like Pierre Gasly and Yuki Tsunoda. They are really fast, and I think they could be a good race tomorrow. AlphaTauri is really fast in this track. We see some of that of Yuki Tsunoda in the Q1 and 2. So I think Gasly will be a surprise here tomorrow in the race.
I have to agree when it comes to the midfield. AlphaTauri is looking really good. And everything Jessica said about Pierre Gasly, it'll be really interesting what Yuki could do from the back of the pack and come towards the front.
Just a quick note from the post-qualifying interviews. It's David Coulthard's birthday today, and he was doing the post-qualifying interviews, and Max Verstappen gave him the cake and then shoved it straight in his face. So Max is in a playful mood, so that could translate into the race tomorrow, which you can see at 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific in the US. That's on ESPN. 4 o'clock race start on Sky Sports F1 here in the UK. Shouldn't have any issues with the weather, but fingers crossed that we don't have any weather in Tennessee tomorrow because it's NASCAR on dirt, Kobe.
Yeah, we're back. We're at Bristol for the highly anticipated Food City Dirt Race. This is the first time the NASCAR Cup Series have raced on dirt in 5 decades, so definitely a long time. Joe, give us a tour around Bristol Dirt.
So here we are at Bristol Motor Speedway. We're coming up to the start-finish line straight. One of the big things, like most dirt track racing, is going to be you want to get on the gas as soon as possible when exiting the corner. So here we are, coming down the past start-finish line as you notice, we're coming into turn 1, turn 2, a little bit on the high side, but definitely as we're going through the big thing, here we come. We're on the gas. Try to keep it straight. Let the car go up 2 doors a while. Now here we are, turn 3 and 4. Watch how it gets really close to that inside pit wall. Hit the gas. Let the car go up. That's a big thing you want to do. However, if you do get a little too high, like right here, you can use this to try to block anybody because look, we're right at the high spot, a little bit faster than the others and ahead. So definitely going to be a really challenging decision for all the drivers trying to keep it low and a good exit off the corner at Bristol.
That is a lap around Bristol, covered in dirt, provided by Talamon and Radius Racing. We also want to congratulate Mike Tellier for winning in the number 97 Grid Network truck at the Bristol Dirt Track for the Galaxy Truck Series. Congratulations again, and thank you for representing Grid Network well, both on and off the virtual track. Joe, Matt, we have a unique setup of no live pit stops this weekend. 2 75-lap stages followed by 100 laps to conclude the event, 250 laps in all, which is really long for an A-main dirt racing event. Does removing the competitive pit stop equalize the field, and who has the most to gain from this rule?
It does equalize, and of course, the smaller teams are going to really gain the most, especially Spire Motorsports. They got Stuart Friesen there. They have a good car set up and are running towards the front. They don't have to worry about a pit stop putting them towards the back compared to some of the teams that have a bigger pit crew roster.
Yeah, and a lot of chat after Friday practice is that tyres are going to be a factor, and that after 15 to 20 laps that the tyres that they were using on Friday are pretty toast. So we might see towards the end, especially when we get to stage 3 on Sunday, that tyres are going to be a real factor if we're not going to have any live pit stops. So look out for that being a potential banana skin for some teams getting towards the end of the race on Sunday.
And later today, we do have qualifying races to set the lineup for tomorrow's Bristol Dirt Race. Personally, I like calling them heat races, but we do have the 4 qualifying races. Each race has 10 drivers, except for the last one, which only has 9. The starting lineup was decided by random draw. Kyle Larson is the heavy favorite in Heat 1, and he's going to be dropping to the rear. I'll touch a little bit more on that later. But Shane Golobic, a sprint car racer, is a part of the first heat, driving for BJ McLeod and Matt Tiff. And here are the dirt ringers in each heat. As I just said, Shane Golobic in the first qualifying race, Mike Marler, Heat 2. JJ Yaley's, although he's not running full-time, he's had a lot of success in dirt racing in Heat 3. And then 2 drivers making their Cup debuts in Heat 4, Stuart Friesen, a regular in the NASCAR Camaro Truck Series, and Chris Windham, who's done it all in sprint cars, midgets, and silver crowns. Chris Windham, an accomplished dirt racer known as Big Daddy over there. Matt, does this qualifying format mean we could see the drivers in underdog equipment towards the front Sunday, with dirt serving as an equalizer?
Yeah, we certainly could. We've had road race ringers in the past, haven't we? We can include dirt race ringers as a new phrase this weekend at Bristol. It is going to mix up the grid, but I think once we get into the meat and potatoes of the race on Sunday, the cream will obviously rise to the top. Your Larsons, your Bells, Briscoes, these guys coming in for this weekend, your Globics and Malars and Friesens and stuff. If they keep out of trouble today in the heat races, they just need to get around without too much damage and get a good position, and then work on that tomorrow, because you are going to see a lot of people struggle tomorrow. And you know, something like Kevin Harvick, he was going into this race all season saying, "Oh, I'm not looking forward to it. It's going to be terrible." And he came out of practice saying he was having the most fun he's had in a long time yesterday. So it is going to be a big mix-up.
Yeah, I do agree that eventually the cream is going to rise to the top. We're going to see the drivers who are typically up front every week. But definitely all of the tire problems. I know we'll talk about this more in depth later in the program. With all the with the tires, wearing significantly, a lot of those front runners could have issues. And if those dirt ringers, right place, right time, don't have those issues, maybe they could get a nice top 20, top 15, or if the tires get really bad, maybe top 10 or even better. Yeah, it's really exciting seeing, like we saw in the road courses for so many years, all the road course ringers, and then today we see some sports car racers come in and run the road courses, an IndyCar driver every now and then, and now having these drivers who have accomplished a lot in the dirt tracks. It's going to be interesting when you put those dirt ringers up against the regulars in both. the NASCAR Cup Series and the Camping World Truck Series this weekend at Bristol Dirt. And coverage of the Cup heat races will start later this evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox Sports 1.
A surprise winner will add on to the list of different winners in the Cup Series if we get a different winner again on Sunday. We're currently at 6 different winners. No driver with multiple races in 2020 has won in 2021. The only NASCAR multiple winner across all 3 series is Ben Rhodes in the Truck Series. Guys, are you surprised by the drivers that have won so far this season, especially in the last couple of races at Homestead and at Atlanta?
When it comes to Homestead and Atlanta, I feel it was a little bit of a surprise, but it's not a surprise as in this was their first career win. This was somebody we didn't anticipate to win, but more, okay, they're coming on earlier than we anticipated. We saw William Byron in the past. Seems like he has a few races where he's just not there. Later in the season, gets better. Get a win early in Homestead, that's huge. That team is looking really good. Blaney, second year with a new crew chief, I think he's looking really good, and I think it was, in a sense, a surprise that they got the win earlier this season.
Joe, you basically said everything that I was going to say. I'm not necessarily surprised that we saw William Byron win at Homestead and Ryan Blaney still the win late from Kyle Larson at Atlanta Motor Speedway. It's more so the fact that they won this soon in the season.
Yeah, agreed. Everyone had this weekend as the Kyle Larson circle on their calendar, but he won already at a couple of weeks ago. Should have won last week, really, but he got pipped at the end by Blaney. There's still a big list of people that surely must win this season. So, as I tweeted in the week, once we get down to August and getting into playoff time, it's going to be a bum fight for people to get into that playoff, into those playoff spots. We've got a week off next week for all of NASCAR because it's Easter. And then we get into April. 3 different tracks, Martinsville, Richmond, and Talladega. Of course, that Martinsville race is under lights on Saturday night. 2 short tracks and a super speedway. More winners surely coming from these couple of races. We've anticipated the win, like Kyle Busch, Elliott, Harvick, and the other 2 Penske drivers. Who of these lists do we expect to see win in the month of April?
Well, Matt, I know looking at drivers like Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Kevin Harvick, and the 2 other Penske drivers, Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano. I think we're going to see wins coming soon from that group. Chase Elliott's looked good so far in practice, Bristol Dirt. The two Penske drivers, Joey Logano seems to be doing extremely well in practice so far. So I definitely think if you're looking at people who could potentially win, and then all of the Joe Gibbs drivers are looking good. Martin Truex Jr. might be just a half a step under his teammates, but still really close. But I definitely think that if we could see any one of those drivers win this weekend, I could definitely see it being a Chase Elliott, a Joey Logano, or even a Kyle Busch.
When it comes to those names, especially, I feel Kyle Busch, he has to be up there. He was looking pretty good. And when it comes to Kevin Harvick, I feel, as Matt mentioned, somebody that was not looking forward to this race, now really excited about the race. And with the dirt, well, it's going to be really interesting to see what all happens. And definitely we see Humperdinck in the chat room very excited about the dirt race as well. I think there's a lot of excitement about today's qualifying race and tomorrow's feature race.
Yeah, and lots of excitement. And of course, the media tour has been a buzz with all the excitement. Kyle Busch was on, as he always is, and he was talking to Fox's Bob Pockrass on his thoughts on racing on dirt this weekend.
For me, I'm not a dirt guy. Like, I didn't grow up like Kyle Larson did. Kyle Larson's known as a dirt guy, right? But I did race dirt when I was a kid. I ran Legends cars, dwarf cars, modifieds, all on dirt, and then pavement pretty much ever since. Did run the super late models on dirt with the Prelude races that Tony had years ago. Was able to finish first, second, third in a few of those, and so it was pretty fun. But those cars are made for dirt, and so every time people ask, like, how come you won't run a truck and blah, blah, blah. It's like these things just are so heavy, and the tire is not at all indicative to producing grip. And so it's just it seems like it's a full-fledged ice rink. Like, literally you're just out there on ice trying to make your way around the track. So that's kind of why I've never really given much participation to it. But obviously now I have no choice. It's in the Cup Series. And so we'll go out there and give it everything we got and see what we can do. You know, our team has really relied heavily on Kyle Busch Motorsports as to what we've done with the trucks and in the Truck Series. for our success that we've had. We've won with Bubba Wallace. We've won with Christopher Bell. We could have won another one with Christopher, I feel like, but we had some things kind of happen in that race. But it's just it's going to be a learning experience for sure. These vehicles are absolutely nothing like anything I've ever driven on dirt, probably. So, it's going to be interesting.
Thank you, Kyle, for that. More Cup Series coverage later in the programme. Not just the Bahrain Grand Prix, of course, this weekend. We've got two-wheeled action with the Qatar Grand Prix. Joe, MotoGP kicks off its season tomorrow as well.
Yeah, MotoGP, just like Formula One, they're starting off their season. Marc Marquez, again, will not be racing due to his injury, so we'll be seeing him hopefully in the third round, as, of course, MotoGP will be doing back-to-back races at Qatar. Free practice. Once we saw the first pre-practice, we saw Franco Morbidelli and his Yamaha take the top spot. But then afterwards, Jack Miller was fastest and overall is the fastest so far as we approach qualifying. Jessica, look at the competition. Which teams are looking really fast early on?
We have Ducati is really fast. They work a lot in the Qatar test. So they have the advantage for this weekend. We saw the times of Jack Miller and Pecco Bagnaia. So I think Ducati is the most faster team this weekend. We have to see what will do Yamaha for today and tomorrow. They have great feelings for the race, for the pole position. We saw Franco Morbidelli with the best time in the free practice. So we have to see this in the pole position. I think Ducati is the fast team this week.
Of course, Ducati, Jack Miller, combined times, fastest overall. As you mentioned as well, Yamaha, they've been up front. Suzuki, we saw Mir 5th place in the first practice, Rins 5th place in the second practice. Of course, David Brivio left to join Alpine F1. Mir, he has to be in Q1. Rins is already in Q2. Do you anticipate seeing Suzuki up front contending for the podium this season?
Yes, he has the current world champion and he will always be a favorite. The Ducati has come very strong with Miller and Bagnaia. Like I said a few minutes ago, they will not have a very easy this weekend. They have two Yamaha with Fabio Quartararo. Then we have Joan Zarco with Pramac and Alex Rins with Suzuki will be the fastest. But I think Joan Mir has a lot of work to do and they have a lot of competition this weekend.
Yeah, they have. I've got Rins on my podium predictor in third place tomorrow. They were well up for this race last year, Suzuki, and of course it never happened because of the pandemic. So we never got to see how fast they could be with obviously the fight that ended up winning the championship. So yes, I think there'll be a factor. I think it is going to be between those three, Suzuki, Ducati and Yamaha. That's been the way testing panned out the last couple of weeks, and that's the way the weekend has panned out so far. So it's going to be between those three teams for me.
Now, a lot of attention on Fabio Quartararo. Looked so strong early in 2020. However, it seems as that season progressed, it started to unravel for him, losing multiple positions in the final standings. Now with the Yamaha factory team and Maverick Vinales as a teammate. So far, Fabio has been the fastest in the first two practices, and then, of course, he is in Q2, as well as his teammate, Maverick Vinales, who was 6th fastest. Is Fabio in a better position right now to win with that factory team?
Well, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because last year, Frankie Morbidelli was the only one with the old bike. He was on the 19 bike. Everybody else was on the 2020 bike, and he ended up coming second in the championship. So there's a lot of talk that Yamaha have made steps again in the winter break, and they historically gone well at this track. Look, of course, Jorge Lorenzo was on pole here in his very first MotoGP for Yamaha way back when. So this is a good track for Yamaha. I expect them to go well over these first couple of races, but when they get back to Europe, sort of Le Mans, Mugello-y, Catalunya-y kind of time, that's when we'll see if Yamaha's found all of its problems from the winter, because Qatar won at Catalonia last year, but they're the key tracks once we get back to Europe in a couple of months' time, where they're going to have to be picking up points.
And there was actually the test by Yamaha to get confidence and speed during the practice. It was between fourth and fifth place, and it must be faster because that is one of Ducati's strengths in this track.
Yeah, one manufacturer that struggled significantly last year was Honda. Definitely missing Marquez. No wins in 2020. First two practices, they only had one rider in the top 10 at this. And so here's my question: does Honda need Marquez back racing in order to make a return to their winning ways?
It seems like it. Only one Honda in the top 10. Overall, they didn't seem to be where they were. Marc Marquez, he is something else when it comes to talent beyond the bicycle. And I do think he is really missing for Honda, all over the place. Honda to go back and get some victories.
Yes, that's right. But we have to wait for Paul Espargaró, and they were not on the biggest during the practice. And he even had a couple of fouls in the practice on Friday, while Stefan Bell maintains almost the same time as Espargaró, but to be realistic, if they didn't margin underneath the speed, the strength, and the mentally of Marc Marquez for win and the races for being in the podium.
Yeah, I'm sure Honda definitely cannot wait for Marc Marquez to return. And the surprise from testing was Aprilia. And again, we saw Aprilia in the top 10 in the first and second practice sessions. Do you anticipate Aprilia to contend for podium finishes this season?
And we need to know, because Alex Espargaró has a great win in the Friday. If they keep the win, yes, they can get to the front row of the grid, as they were very consistent yesterday in the free practice.
Well, Aprilia there's been this talk about Aprilia again this season, and this has been a bit of a recurring theme where they go well in pre-season testing and then the actual season starts and nothing much happens for them. They've got Aleix in Q2. Their other rider, Lorenzo Savadori, is very low on MotoGP experience and is some way off the pace. There's been a lot of talk this week that Andrea Dovizioso might be making a surprise return to that team for maybe the second half of the season. So we'll have to keep an eye on how that's developing over the next few weeks. But no, for me, for Aprilia, I think they're going to be good here at Qatar. But once we get back to Europe, that team's going to struggle.
When it comes to them, you mentioned in testing, they were looking really good. Once we get to the race pace, it always seems that's where everyone seems to step it up. And I don't see them being up towards the front, contending for the podium finish. Maybe top 10s here and there, but that's about it.
And qualifying for MotoGP Qatar Grand Prix tomorrow is going to get underway in just half an hour at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And also tomorrow, the Qatar Grand Prix season opener, also at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And looking at the weather, it's looking like we're going to have some clear weather in Qatar with some gusty winds. The race will take place later in the evening under the lights. Now switching gears back to one series used to race under the lights is NASCAR. This weekend, we had practice for the first time since the season opened in Daytona 500, allowing the Cup drivers an opportunity to get some valuable laps on the dirt. Many were concerned about the look of the on-track product, especially with the Cup cars heading into the weekend. We already knew what to expect from the trucks after the years of racing at Eldora Speedway. However, one of the biggest concerns after an entire day of practice was tire wear. A heavy stock car, 750 horsepower, first time racing on dirt in 50 years. So it's not really surprising to see some concerns arise. In practice, there was tire wear in the short runs, but many are worried about the durability of the Goodyear dirt tire on the long run this weekend. As the drivers got more laps on the tires, the wear was significant. Many are wondering if NASCAR will decide to give the teams an extra set of tires or have a competition caution in a longer final stage. If none of that happens, it might turn into a race of who can manage their dirt tires the best. The track started forming a line, building rubber on the current preferred groove on the bottom. Some referred to this style as classic old Bristol, single groove that often saw drivers use the bump and run to move competitors out of the way. After the practice session yesterday, what are your thoughts on the track and all the tire concerns?
Considering that this is the first year we're racing NASCAR Cup Series stock cars on dirt, when looking at the practice, it didn't look like anything too concerning. Yes, everyone was going towards that one groove, but remember, prior to 2007, that's what Bristol was known for. One groove, pushing your competitor out of the way. If we have an event where we're seeing beating and banging throughout the race because it's that one valuable groove, it could provide an entertaining event. However, the big concern has to be that tire, especially as you see here in the picture, Christopher Bell has that front tire up in the air, so all that weight is on that right rear tire where we're seeing the tire wear occur.
Yeah, I picked up on what I said before about tyres. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. This is a brand new thing for me, apart from the Eldora truck races. So I'm like way new to this dirt stuff. It was incredible to see the cars broadside yesterday, some more than others. There was an image of Cole Custer completely 90 degrees to the racetrack in practice yesterday, although he did spin. So yeah, it's going to be a great race tomorrow. Looking very much forward to something different.
Yeah, definitely. It's gonna be something different. It was really interesting yesterday watching all of the drivers even using different styles to get around the racetrack. I forgot who said it, but someone mentioned watching Stuart Friesen was driving the number 77 Spire Motorsports Chevrolet around the track in his stock car like it was a dirt car, getting all sideways and stuff. And then also the same person, I think it was a driver, mentioned Brad Keselowski was going around the track driving it like asphalt Bristol. So definitely different styles. It is going to be really interesting to see how this track turns out, how they're going to treat the track moving forward this weekend. And then with the tire concerns, I do think that's something we really need to pay attention to, especially in that final 100 lap stage 3. It's gonna be really crazy, and especially if the tires start wearing significantly, and we have a bunch of drivers coming in, it might be a yikes type of moment for NASCAR. But we do have to consider the fact that this is the first Bristol dirt race for the NASCAR Cup Series, so maybe we shouldn't be so hard on Goodyear if it ends up turning out that they didn't get the tire right this time. It would definitely give them an opportunity to take what they learn, and if we're going to come back for Bristol Dirt next year, develop a better tire. And one of the most anticipated events of the season, along with new venues, this Bristol Dirt race. And before the pandemic, Bristol Spring Race wasn't selling out like it used to. So here's my question: will this new dirt race draw the fans like it used to if the event is successful, and will that continue in a post-pandemic world?
It's a shame that this first one is happening in the world that we're currently living in, because you mentioned the non-sellouts the last few years. People would have flocked to this race this weekend if they were given the chance. One of our USRN colleagues, Collins Janis, is going to the truck race this afternoon, so he's very much looking forward to that. It's going to go either one of two ways this weekend. It's either going to be absolutely brilliant, and Jeff Gluck's poll is going to be 99.9% yes, was it a good race? Or we're going to have another 2008 Indianapolis Brickyard race where the tyres can't hold together and it turns into a bit of a joke. So it could go either way. We'll have to wait and see, I guess, is all we can do.
You said it right there. Essentially, if this race is really successful, it's going to be a sellout next year. That's what I'm predicting. Big thing, of course, as you mentioned, it hasn't been selling out the spring race in Bristol. Try something different. If this gets it where the crowds come for Bristol Dirt, then the Bristol night race, it's a big win for Bruton Smith, NASCAR, and all the teams, and especially for the fans to see something this fun and creative, a dirt race.
Yeah, it's definitely something new, and there was a lot of buzz yesterday watching practice from a lot of people, between drivers, media members, fans. Everybody was so excited, and the one word that I saw on my Twitter timeline was surreal. That it was so surreal watching cup cars race on the dirt, because even I said before watching that practice session, it's really hard to visualize a cup car on the dirt. And then when I saw it happen, it was one of the most beautiful things that I have seen in motorsports in such a long time. And this new concept, well, it's not a new concept, but but maybe in the modern day, seeing the cup cars on the dirt, like this even caught the attention of people who are covering Formula One in Bahrain. This is how big that this event could potentially be, and I'm sure NASCAR hoping that they'll be able to deliver on all of the hype heading into the Bristol dirt race. And yesterday, one of the favorites this weekend, Kyle Larson, experienced engine issues in practice, and the team ended up changing Kyle's motors, meaning Larson will start at the rear for his heat race later today and for tomorrow's 8 main 250 lap Food City dirt race. Looking at all of the charts in practice, Larson had the most consistent runs, fast car, and definitely the big favorite for the win. Now coming from the rear, Young Money will have to get up on the wheel and slide to the front. How exciting will it be watching Larson drive through the field, and coming from the back, is he still the favorite to win?
I see him still being the favorite to win, especially since this is something brand new. I could see him, if that car is perfect to what he wants to, I see him coming through, and it's going to put on a heck of a show seeing him come from the back towards the front.
We saw him at Phoenix, didn't we, come through the field twice, 3 times because of speeding penalties. So he's got plenty of practice. The only thing I'm wary about is everyone that's going to be starting in front of him. A lot of people, this is their first time, and he's got all the experience. So it's going to be like playing your PlayStation game on the lowest AI difficulty as he comes barreling through the field. He'll get to the front at some point. We've mentioned a couple of people that can challenge him for the victory. So don't expect anything less than maybe a top 5 in stage 1 for Kyle Larson tomorrow.
Yeah, and then the NASCAR race at Bristol Dirt is set for tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. And another thing we'll be watching is the weather, because there are some threats of severe thunderstorms. It looks better in the evening. Possibly we'll be racing under the lights at the dirt track. It's the final event of the day with Formula One Bahrain Grand Prix and MotoGP Qatar Grand Prix earlier in the day, and the final event of the weekend for the Grid World Motorsport League.
It is week 6 this weekend of the Grid World Motorsport League. We had a new leader coming out of week 5, and that man is Shane Van Gisbergen from the Repco Supercars Championship. He has won all 5 races in the series so far, and he's, as you can see, tops the standings with a maximum of 25 out of 25. It's the first time anyone has got 25 out of 25 and been eligible to score in this, now the third season of the Grid World Motorsport League. So Shane is top. He was a new entry on the leaderboard last week, as was John Hunter Nemechek down there in 10th position in the Truck Series. One thing to mention on John Hunter, he's on baby watch today, so potentially he could be replaced by Christopher Bell. We'll have to wait and see if that happens, and that will determine whether he scores or not in this week's WML. We have F1 and MotoGP, as Kobe mentioned, coming into scoring this weekend. They won't register on the leaderboard until they have had 3 races, which just happens to be on the same day next month, middle of April, so that'll be exciting. But one championship that does start this weekend and has 3 races is Formula 2. They've had 1 race already today. The second sprint race is happening as we record this show right now. So Liam Lawson won the first one this morning, so he's got 25 points to his name, but isn't eligible until the end of the weekend. It'll be interesting to see where those guys land. Van Gisbergen will obviously be the leader of the WML until which weekend is it? 2 weeks, the week after Easter, because supercars are back in action at Tasmania. So he's got 3 weeks to be the crowned champion, and then he potentially will drop. But the way he's been going, don't expect him to drop too far.
Yeah, Matt, and you mentioned Formula 2 race is just about to begin. They're on the formation lap right now as we speak. And another race happening today with the Xfinity Series having an off weekend. The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series is joining Cup this weekend at Bristol Dirt. Like Cup, trucks had 2 practice sessions yesterday. It seems like they were able to move around and slide more than the Cup cars. 4 heat races with 11 trucks in each qualifying race. Several Cup drivers in the show to get more experience for tomorrow's race. Bubba Wallace and Kevin Harvick are in Heat 1. Bubba driving the number 11 Toyota Tundra for Spencer Davis's operation in a collaboration effort with Tottori Racing Enterprise, and Kevin Harvick driving the number 17 for DGR Crosley. Martin Truex Jr. is in Heat 2 driving the number 51 for Kyle Busch Motorsports. And then in Heat 3, got 3 Cup drivers with Daniel Suarez, Kyle Larson, and Chase Briscoe. Daniel Suarez driving the number 02 Chevrolet Silverado for Young's Motorsports, and Kyle Larson also in a Chevrolet Silverado, the number 44, driving for Al Neese and Neese Motorsports, and Chase Briscoe in the number 04 Ford F-150, replacing Corey Roper. And then Ryan Newman, the lone Cup driver in Heat 4, driving the number 39 Ford for Brad Means, who is the son of NASCAR Xfinity Series owner Jimmy Means. So definitely lots of stories to follow among the Truck Series regulars, like Haley Deegan, who had a strong practice, definitely a good opportunity to show her strengths as a dirt racer and maybe get a win and secure a spot in the playoffs. They call her the Dirt Princess, so let's see what she can do. And she also won some dirt races in the ARCA Racing Series as well. Cup drivers looking to conquer the show, so I'm really surprised Marcus Lemonis didn't put out a bounty on them like he did for Kyle Busch last year, and Chase Elliott ended up claiming the bounty. Plus, all the dirt ringers like Mike Marlar running double duty truck and cup. Jake Griffin's in the field. He had some success running past Eldora Truck Racing, and J.R. Hefner, who's driving the number 3 for Jordan Anderson. He had a practice crash. They're trying to see what they can do and repair that truck, get it ready for the heat racing. And of course, we're all following the big story involving Stewart and Jessica Friesen, husband and wife, racing against each other today. Coverage of the heat races get underway at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time on FS1, 15 laps each. Then race coverage of the Penty's Dirt Truck Race starts tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, also on FS1, Under the Lights in Thunder Valley. Now it's time for everyone's favorite game, Pick a Winner.
Pick a Winner is getting close. Tie up for the front. Kobe is right there, one spot behind Adam. And for everyone watching, be sure in the comments or the chat room, Twitter as well, use the hashtag Pick a Winner. Share your picks. We have 3 races, Formula 1, NASCAR, and MotoGP to pick from. Starting with Jessica. For Formula 1, who do you see winning the race?
In Formula 1, I have to say with the rim, this Saturday, Max Verstappen will be the winner.
Formula 1 in Bahrain is going to be Lewis Hamilton. It may be hard. It's going to be hard, to dethrone the defending champion on Sunday.
Well, Adam, for the very first time in a long time, I can't say with complete confidence that Lewis Hamilton is going to win this race. I think Mercedes is still going to be strong this season, but I think Red Bull has definitely caught up with them over the offseason. I really like what I'm seeing from Max Verstappen this weekend. Yeah, I always want to say Lewis Hamilton, but this weekend I think Max Verstappen is going to get the best of him and Mercedes.
It's the first race of the year. We always see a lot of chaos. Just look at last year's race. We had a McLaren in the podium. I'm going to go way out there. I think Daniel Ricciardo is going to pull off the big upset, take a win. I think we're going to see bad luck for Red Bull, maybe some chaos for the Mercedes.
I'd like to see a McLaren come from that far back on the grid and take victory. That is for sure. I'm going to go with the pole man, like Jess. I think Verstappen is going to win tomorrow. It's going to be close. It's going to be very good. I'm very excited for it. It's going to be a very good race tomorrow, I feel. We've got a lot of storylines to follow. But Max, for me, is going to win tomorrow.
And now that leaves us with NASCAR Cup Series at the dirt track. Matt, who do you see as the first winner of the NASCAR Cup Series dirt race at Bristol?
I can't remember who I tweeted to you the other day now, which is bugging me, but there's many people that can win, and there's a few people that probably should win. I'm going to go with Kyle Larson. Everyone's been talking him up the whole winter since his deal was announced, basically, and this race was going to happen. Yes, he's starting from the back, but I think Kyle Larson will take the victory.
I'm going to go with another dirt race racer. I'm going to go with Christopher Bell. All those Chili Bowl wins been essentially Kyle Larson's big rival there in Oklahoma. I see him being the driver to beat.
Yeah, and those are 2 of the drivers who everyone's basically thinking going to win. Is either going to be Kyle Larson or Christopher Bell. And also another driver, I'm not going to pick him to win, but one of my dark horse pick, I think Chase Briscoe could surprise a lot of people as well, considering all of the success he's had throughout his career in dirt racing. And also he did win the truck race at Eldora, but I think Young Money's coming from the back to the lead, and Kyle Larson's going to win the first Bristol dirt race.
I picked for the NASCAR race at the Bristol dirt track is going to be Austin Dillon. He has had a lot of success there. He's had a lot of success on dirt in the past, and it may be hard to beat for him on Sunday.
And now that leaves MotoGP, Qatar Grand Prix. When it comes to MotoGP, Jessica, who do you see winning the race?
It's really difficult to say because I have a lot of drivers really fast. I think Jack Miller will be the winner in this race.
And my pick for MotoGP will probably be the defending champion. And I think he'll have a good race on Sunday.
Well, I'm actually going to go with the same rider that Jessica picked and going with Jack Miller to win the Qatar Grand Prix.
I have to. The way Jack Miller's looking, unless some sort of bad luck, I have to go with Jack Miller. He is looking too strong.
Yep, I agree. 2007, Ducati signed a young Australian and he won the race and went on to win the championship. Could history repeat itself this season? I'm going to pick Jack Miller to win that race as well.
Amazing. I think that's the first time the four of us right here. And of course, we have Adam. Adam went with Mir, but the four of us, Jack Miller, it'll be really interesting to see what happens in MotoGP.
So what you're saying now is Quartararo is going to win and we're all going to be wrong.
That could happen.
Could do.
Yeah, definitely. Racing is unpredictable, and probably going to be a lot of crazy things happening this weekend between Formula One, NASCAR, and MotoGP. And unfortunately, guys, we're all out of time for today's, and want to give a special shout out to Colin for helping keep us on the air. We really appreciate Colin for being our very first Patreon supporter. Click on the link below if you want to become our second Patreon supporter and have your name on all of our programs. Also, if your loved one has a pet dog, check out Paw Bless, 10% discount for our Grit Network viewers. Everything from dog leashes, clothing, and accessories. A portion of your purchase goes to helping homeless and rescue dogs. Plus, check out our newest episode of Life on the Grid, which debuted last night, featuring Sabre Cook from the W Series, chatting with me and Daniel from Racers, the girls behind the helmet, and wonderful music from Ava Earl. Also, check out our first live report at the track in the latest episode of the Women Racing to Win. Daniel was reporting on site from Mugello and getting interviews during the 24-hour series weekend, the 12 hours of Mugello endurance race. Keep an eye out on Thursday for a brand new episode of the Women Racing to Win. Here's a reminder that we won't have a Grit Live wrap-up tomorrow evening due to scheduling conflicts, and our next program will be Wednesday night for a new episode of Grit Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. And before we go, here's a quick update on the Formula 2 sprint race from this morning. The 2021 Formula 2 season will race 8 weekends this year. Three races per weekend, 2 sprint races on Saturday, and a feature race on Sunday, totaling 24 races this year at 8 different tracks. This morning, the season kicked off, as Matt mentioned earlier, with Red Bull Jr. Liam Lawson winning the season opener in Bahrain over Jahan Deruvala. And it was definitely a good performance by the Red Bull Jr. Liam Lawson is also running DTM this year for winning Sprint Race 1. And Sprint Race 2 is actually happening right now as we speak, and currently under the safety car after Robert Schwartzman and Dan Ticktum have crashed out of the race after making contact. And that's some major early championship implications there, because Robert Schwartzman, Dan Ticktum, 2 drivers who I think could be contending for the championship, and we'll definitely keep up with FIA Formula 2 throughout the 2021 season. And for Jessica at Paddock Insight, Matt White from the Grid World Motorsport League, Adam and Joe, I'm Kobe Lambert from the Podium Finish. We'll see you next time, and enjoy the races.
Joe Samaniego here. Want to invite you to go check out Paw Bless. Paw Bless is a dog clothing and accessory company based in Austria. 10% of each of your purchases goes to helping dogs in need, whether it's homeless, sick, or ill dogs. This is one of the reasons why we support it. Kiska here is a rescue dog from rural Alaska and our Grid office dog. We care about our furry buddies, and we know you do as well. Definitely check out pawbless.com. There's a link on the video description, and by clicking on that link, you get a 10% discount on your purchase as well.